Okay, first question.
Deon, Wayne Pivak made mention that last year's game against you guys in Cardiff, they did everything well except stop your scrum. And that's obviously been a huge focus point for them this time around. Do you see that as where the game's going to be won and lost again?
Set pieces is always very, very important in test matches. You want to have top quality delivery in order to get your attack going, or to stop opposition's momentum. So the scrums is going to be important. I think the line-out mauls is also going to be important to ensure your delivery. And yeah, I think Wales is a very, very competitive side. If you look back in that game, they stayed in the fight right until the last minutes, and it's actually when we scored that maul try towards the end that actually put us ahead in order to win that game. So it's going to be very competitive.
Is there a concern perhaps from your side that some of the South African public, because of Wales' performance in the URC and in the Six Nations, that last game, maybe feel that you guys should be on top of them very easily, much easier than it's been in the past?
No, not at all. If you look at Wales' team closely, you would see that they've got very experienced players in their team. A lot of British and Irish Lions. They've got a lot of test caps at the back and in the forwards. They had about 4 weeks to prepare for this because of the result of the teams is out of the URC. So I think they will be well prepared. And in all the games that we played against them, whether it's from last year's World Cup, the end of or the previous year's World Cup, the last year's game, it was always tight right until the end. And I think they're a team that are very desperate in terms of changing things around for them. And I mean, we remind ourselves a couple of years ago, we were also very desperate in terms of changing things around for us. And when you play against a team like that, you got to be prepared. You can't underestimate any team at test level. So we expect Wales to really show up and really give us a tough game, and we prepare for that.
Ken?
Deon, I guess the one difference from the last couple of times you played Wales is that this Saturday you're playing them in altitude, Victoria. How much of a factor is that, and this home ground advantage in general?
The altitude will always be a factor for teams coming here, but I think teams also evolved in terms of their scientific approach to cope with that. And I think Wales have also done a lot of research on that and prepared in terms of that. So it will be tough, but I believe they will be conditioned enough to hang in there for the full 80 minutes to make it competitive.
Coach, you saw what happened now this morning in New Zealand with the COVID situation that's developed there. Has that maybe changed the way you guys are going to take on this week, and maybe change your protocols for the week?
No, I think things stays exactly the same for us going forward. Obviously we've just I don't have in-depth knowledge about what actually the situation is there, but we became aware of that. But for us, the way we prepared our week, it stays exactly the same up to this moment.
Coach, just statistically in the last 12 years, the incoming tour has always been the time where Springboks have usually blooded new players. Obviously you're a bit robbed of that 2020 season, but how much is it an opportunity now? Obviously every month is a month close to the World Cup, but how big an opportunity is this July period to bring in a few new players?
Definitely, our mindset is obviously we work towards a bigger picture because we're so close towards the World Cup. But also important, you want to win games. You wanna build momentum. You wanna build confidence, and so yes, it's important for us to breed or give young players an opportunity. But it's also important for us to get the balance right, okay? In terms of looking where our senior players are at, look at different variables, like things of performance and building combinations and stuff. So obviously that will be our mindset in terms of looking at, listen, how can we get that balance right, but also ensure giving us the best possible opportunity to win test matches, and then build from that going forward.
Along with a couple of the guys here, we were just
that the Box played at home in front of full house or something very close to it. You reckon it's probably 4 years. How much an advantage to you is the fact that after 4 years you are playing a test match in front of a home crowd that is almost occupying every seat?
Obviously, we're very excited to play in front of our home crowd. After we won the World Cup, I think everyone is excited to do that. We actually, in a way, it's important to say thank you for the people for supporting us for so long, and it's also going to be important for us actually in terms of reward them in terms of the way we play and feed from their energy on game day. So yeah, all of us, it's going to be a special occasion for us to play in front of the home crowd after 4 years.
And given that, and I know you've been very polite about Wales, but you are the world champions. They lost at home last time out to Italy. From your perspective, what is the minimum requirement in terms of result outcome this weekend?
Now listen, if you, I think everyone is focusing on the Italy loss. A couple of years ago, we also lost against Italy. But I think what we need to understand is, if you look at the Six Nation games and the other games, is that Wales were actually in that games right until the end. In terms of the games that they've lost. So they, as I said before, they're a competitive side. They play with a lot of passion and a lot of pride. They're in a situation where they want to turn things around for them. They've got experienced campaigner, Dan Bigger, Alan Wynne-Jones, Williams, all of those guys, Josh Adams, all of them are British and Irish Lions that have been here a couple of months in South Africa, who understand the environment, understand the way we do things and what the challenges would be. So we under no illusion that it's going to be a tough series, and that is how we approach it.
Spook?
Coach Deon, just in terms of player availability and selection, is there sort of any thoughts of resting some guys that will come playing in the final of the URC, and if you ruled anybody out, or is it a level playing field for some of the guys who exited earlier and the ones that exited at the end of the URC campaign?
Yeah, obviously we had some insightful discussions around that, and as I said, we've looked at different things in terms of what we want to achieve in this first test, and obviously who's going to be the right players and the right combinations that at this stage which we feel will give us a good result. So our thoughts is around those things. Everyone is available. I think despite PIETER-STEPH the TOIT, who is still in his rehab for this first test. But other than that, we look at all the players available and start seeing in terms of who's going to be the best combinations for us going into this first test match. Those are players that came from the URC. Obviously, they came straight into our training camp. Obviously, we didn't have, as a result of Regulation 9, we didn't have the other players available. So this week is actually the first week where they will be involved, and we will have to put the work in order to get them going, to get the combinations going, and to get the detail and stuff nailed in for Saturday. And so it's a very important week for us this week going into the test.
Coach, concerning Jasper Wiese, firstly, he's in the country now, he's supposed to land today if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And then, is there enough time, because the general consensus is that he's going to be one of the starting players, is there enough time for him to acclimatise to the conditions in Victoria, the altitude and so forth and so on, to take up that 8th man position?
Obviously, the medical staff and I think the conditioning staff, together with us, had a discussion about all of those factors. We have our training session this afternoon, and obviously the team will be announced officially tomorrow. So, but those are things that we definitely take into consideration and make the best decision for the play and for the team going forward into this test match.
Coach, just sticking to that URC topic, you mentioned a lot of the players joined the camp. We had two teams in the finals of the competition and in South Africa winning eventually. How have that group of players added to the morale of the team, and how has that changed the morale of the team in training since they came in, having done so well in that competition abroad? Especially looking at the fact that we're playing Northern Hemisphere opposition this week.
Now, obviously, when you win competitions, it brings a lot of confidence. The players come with a lot of confidence into the squad. It creates an environment where you actually have a broader base of players that you actually can look at in terms of, as I said, going forward. And I think the players also understand it's not only always about the match 23. It's also about how you prepare the match 23 going into a test match and the contributions that they can make. When they come in, obviously also it's important to align in terms of how we at the Springboks are doing things differently in terms of what they've done in their franchise. So coming in with that confidence, coming in at form, it's good for us. But as I said, there's things that we have to consider in terms of, listen, how quickly can we get a line, understand how quickly can we get that combinations right in terms of where players are and what we saw in terms of how they can contribute to our success on Saturday. But having them here coming from finals and winning finals, also guys like Andre Pollard, them coming from overseas, played in the final, winning final, all of those stuff contribute to an exciting environment to be.
A couple of last points here. First of all, Jasper, it will be his first session back with Box today,
Yes?
it will be his first session.
Yes.
And secondly, PIETER-STEPH, can you just elaborate on where he is in terms of his fitness and when you anticipate him being able to operate?
He's busy with his rehab and after his shoulder operation. I think he will be cleared in terms of that in the vicinity of Thursday. So obviously he will then be considered for the second test going forward.
Guys, we've got Ox here as well, hey? If anybody would like to pop a question to him.
No
pressure.
Oh, thanks, Brendan.
Ox, just wondering, I mean, the success you guys have had against the Welsh regions in the URC, has made all the South African teams had a lot of success around them. As a player, does it maybe take away a bit of that aura around the Welsh team, the fact that you guys have been so successful against the regions, or is Test Rugby totally different?
I mean, for me, Test Rugby is completely different. I mean, for the mere fact that sure we did well against the Welsh teams, but I mean they're playing for a country which is much more bigger. So, and I think as where the country's rugby is considered to be by most media franchises, I mean they want to prove a point. You understand? So, I think, like Coach Deon said, they're desperate and a desperate team that's willing to prove a point, that are willing to show actually they're one of the top rugby nations in the world, so will probably come out guns blazing and they're going to pitch on a day.
So you're expecting them to come at you on Saturday at the Scrum?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's good.
The Welsh coach, Red Miller, was quite effusive in complimenting the Springboks run. How do you guys receive that kind of praise in terms of being regarded as world-class rugby? Went as far as to say the best in the world. So obviously not just yourself and the rest of the rugby. How do you guys receive those kind of compliments?
I mean, I always say it's like an all 8 pack. If all our forwards decide to pitch on the day, then we're definitely gonna try and pose our presence on them. So I don't think it's just because you probably had one good performance against them makes you all of a sudden you think you'll always do good against them. So I mean, who's more prepared on the day and who pitches up on the day will probably be the best team on the field that day.
You've also got a couple of rookies at the international arena as well that they've had to some extent right now. So do you guys look at the team and think you can get a leg up in those kind of confrontations?
Well, like I said, it's it's all about, I mean, a guy at 21-year-old can have more pride than a guy that has been in the system for a long time, and like for the country. So I promise you, it's like we don't go into a game thinking, you know what, no, they probably have youngsters that are inexperienced. I mean, those youngsters could be the best players on the day. So I think it's important to understand that out there, like Coach Deon said it, like they're very competitive, and I think they know South Africa is the number one like rugby nation in the world, and they want to prove something. So I think that's pretty important to consider.
By the time, around about this time last year, you could have played enough tests. You had a lot of game time and success last year. Does that give you confidence in regard to that season you had last year?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit more aligned in terms of what the coaches expect from me, and I just have to focus on my job. There's nothing like that that can distract me anymore. Like, I'm more aligned with the team now, and I think that's what actually just gives me confidence. The fact that I know what Coach Deon expects from me in the lineouts. I know what Coach Jock expects from me, and that's where I get my confidence from.
Ken?
Deon mentioned that Wales are a very good second side. You guys have just come out of URC, which is quite an emphasis on seconds in URC. Do you feel that previously in Super Rugby, when you guys come out of Super Rugby into the international settings, you feel there was less of an emphasis on seconds there? So you come out of URC in a way you guys are better prepared for.
Oh, that's pretty tough, but I think honestly they kind of give a similar competitive edge, because I mean, Super Rugby they have good scrums, but they just scrum differently in terms of like it's technical, like small technical stuff that make a huge difference. And in the Northern Hemisphere as well, they all have like similar systems which are also like different to Super Rugby, but the challenge is still the same either way, because I mean, you might scrum against a guy in the URC that will probably be able to scrum a guy in Super Rugby, but then you're up against him and he gives you like more problems than the guy that you scrummed in Super Rugby, and vice versa. So I think it's a very tough question to ask, but I can't say one competition set pieces like as less than the other really. They all just have like different challenges.
Guys, we've got 13 minutes left, so I just we can fire in any language. I know there'll be a few Afrikaans questions for Deon and Suter for Ox, so if you want.
Ox, with regard to the alignment camps, how did you enjoy those? Because I know initially you started with fewer players, but was like, as it grew, it kind of gelled very well, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. I mean, they were great in terms of you get a clear picture of what the coaches want. I mean, you already know by the time like we all come here together. I mean, we have guys only like joining us this week, but in theory they all know what is expected of them, and they just have to put it in practice. So it was a great experience because it simplifies your job. You know what to expect, you know what is needed for you, and how you're going to be measured. So yeah, I enjoyed those.
Do you have a different level of reverence or respect for some of your teammates that won the URC that Stormers had? What was their reception like when they walked in with their medals?
Well, I mean, you're part of them because I mean it was an all South African URC final, so you're definitely part of them. But you know, they got there because they won form. So you also know that, you know, because even when watching them, you know, like we're not like opponents anymore. We actually teammates, and they naturally they have to bring the best out of me, and I have to do the same. So because you know where they've been, you've seen their form, you've seen their entire good of a seasons they've had, and you're trying to match that, and you know, that's pretty much it.
So for the last few seasons, you know, the Hawks have been running two front rows at every match, and usually you swap out the whole front row at half time, just before, just after. Is that going to be continuing, and is this
I mean, the coaches have a better perception in that plan because I mean, you might not know. Like one guy might actually still have a lot more to give, and the other two might need to go off because they've done their jobs. So I think they'll have a better plan on how they're going to conduct it this year, and yeah.
A player like Marcel Kutsia wasn't considered last year's test side. This year has been back in the fold. Do you want to maybe tell us what has changed since then? What has gotten the inclusion this time around? And with a player like Deon, an experienced campaigner, being out of this particular test series, is there a temptation to plug Marcel Kutsia straight in maybe as a number 8?
At this stage, we are very fortunate to have a lot of talent in different positions. Okay, if you look across the board in terms of the loose forwards, there's exceptional talent in 6, 7, and 8. So when a player is in form and he produces, a guy like Marcel is also experienced. He's been a Springbok. He had consistent performances. So I mean, a player like that can just add value to the whole Springbok environment. The same you can say if you look at the locks that we have available. The players are very competitive and almost like for like in those positions, 4 or 5. On the gentleman question, also in terms of our front rows. Okay, I think we blessed in terms of the talent that we, for instance, have in terms of tight 5 forwards in 1, 2, and 3. So it's important for us to align all the players in terms of what is expected from them and how they can contribute, and to ensure that we create an environment that is competitive, but it's competitive to bring the best out of each other and understanding, as I said, whether I'm in the team or not in the team, that my contribution is about the big picture. It's in the interest of Springbok rugby, being the best, staying the best, and working towards the next World Cup. And I think if you have that healthy competition amongst all of these players, at the end of the day, it actually comes down to what you want to achieve on the day, and what player is going to give you that, and how easily he can slot into that specific position. So yeah, it's insightful. It's sometimes difficult to have those conversations and to make those decisions, but it's good to have. It's good to have all that talent and experience available.
And just as a follow-up to that, is there then potentially room for both the Marcel and the Dre to be in the same setup, building towards the World Cup next year, or is it more of a like either one or the other type of situation?
Obviously, we will have to. When you go to the World Cup, you can only have a certain amount of players. I think it's around 33 that you can take. So some is going to be in, some is going to fall out. But I mean, playing these test matches, building experience, testing combinations, working for the best results, give you an opportunity to, at the end of the day, get to that. I mean, anything can happen in rugby. There can be injuries just before you go and stuff, and then it's important to have that picture in terms of the performance of a player on who's going to best to fill in those in that specific positions, and I think that is part of the mindset.
Guys, we've got 7 minutes, so if you want to find any other language, please do so now. Pata?
Wallis?
Ja, wat verwag jy van
Okay. Nee, ons verwag dat Wallis gaan baie kompeterend wees die komende naweek. Soos ons gesê het, ons kyk glad nie vas in resultate nie. Vir ons is dit belangrik om tot die beste van ons vermoë voor te berei. Wallis is 'n span met baie ervare spelers, spelers wat vir die Britse en Ierse Lions gespeel het. As jy kyk na die toetservaring van die spelers, agter en voorspelers, is dit spelers met baie ervaring. So is 'n baie ervare groep spelers wat tans in Suid-Afrika toer. Wallis is ook natuurlik in 'n posisie waar hulle baie graag hulle wil verbeter op hulle vertonings en die seisoen vir hulle wil omdraai. So hulle is desperaat vir dit en as 'n span in daai situasie is, dan kan jy verwag dat hy baie kompeterend gaan wees op die dag. En so ons, aan ons kant af moet ons sorg dat ons so goed as moontlik voorberei om aan die einde van die dag te sorg dat ons die beste resultaat kan kry in die toetse.
Deon, is die uitdaging in PIETER-STEPH sal wesigheid en die balans en die los vir jou reg te kry rondom SEA en hoe groot terugslag is dit om sommer die ervaring as opleiding van PIETER-STEPH?
Nee, definitief. Ek ben op PIETER-STEPH beste speler in die wêreld op periode gewees. Deon weet ons speel 'n baie belangrike leierskaprol en sy impak in die span is groot. Maar aan die einde van die dag is dit 'n kwessie van om die glas meer vol te sien as half leeg. Ek dink dit is 'n uitstekende kans om jong manne in die span moontlik blootstelling te gee. Ons het ook baie veelsidige spelers in ons groep. As jy nou dink aan 'n ou soos Franco Mostert wat flank of slot kan speel. Jy het ouens soos Elderig Lou, jong manne wat inkom. Jy het Evan Roos, dis so ja, natuurlik sou jy wil bou op jy wil kontinuïteit hê en jy wil daai tipe ervare spelers deel het van jou span op enige dag, maar aan die ander kant gee dit ook 'n kans vir ons om breër te kyk en moontlik nuwe talent 'n kans te gee om ervaring te bou.
So 2 questions for us, guys. Anyone? We've got 4 more minutes if anyone wants to ask anything else.
Deon, net in terme van wat julle wil bereik hierdie seisoen is om weg te spring met 'n 3-0 reeks teen Wallis doelwit vir julle?
Nee, definitief. Ek dink om jou seisoen op 'n wennoot te begin, sit almal in 'n goeie spasie en jy wil daai kontinuïteit bou met die kampioenskappe wat voor lê en dan ook 'n uitdagende einde van die jaar toer. Ja, so ons doelwitte bly presies dieselfde. Natuurlik vir ons is om te wen, is om nommer 1 te bly, om my momentum te behou, maar ook in dieselfde tyd natuurlik om te transformeer in die sin van hoe ons goed te doen op en van die veld, hoe ons kreatief kan raak as 'n span om soos ons vorentoe gaan, maar ook om diepte te bou. So dit bly ons kern eienskappe waarna ons kyk aan ons fokus op ons visie vir die seisoen. Maar om te begin met 'n wen is vir ons baie belangrik.
Coach, without giving away the piece of the parcel, I know it's tomorrow, but you've mentioned some of the younger players and the opportunity to maybe bring in new combinations. Can we expect some surprises when you announce the team tomorrow, or are we looking at a general consistency as we've seen in the last couple of years?
I think we must wait for that until tomorrow. I think that's the best way I can answer it for you. As I said, obviously we still have our training session this afternoon, and yeah, we will conclude with that at the end of the day session.
And then the other question is, not to put any aspersions on it, but the New Zealanders have started up again with the way South Africa plays rugby. You know, in COVID situation, it was very much trying to just batten down the hatches and win games. Is there going to be a more look towards a new type of more 50-50 game plan that's a bit more free-flowing, or can we expect a similar type of game plan that we've seen in the last 2 seasons?
Now, obviously, at the end of the season, we reviewed what we've done in the last year very carefully. Looked at all the different departments, and obviously, I think there's a core way in terms of how we do things. If it works for you, it's simple. You continue to do it. If it doesn't work for you, you have to have a look at why it doesn't work, to make a decision whether changes is needed or you just have to be better in terms of how you execute it. And I think that is pretty much our mindset in terms of the game plans and the stuff that we prepare going forward.
Cool, guys. Any last question to close off?
Deon, developing training really sort of as a backup fly half, to help out with the squad and stuff. Is he still first choice fullback, or
think he trained there because we were quite low in numbers in terms of our conditioning camp. But as a 15, at times always a guy comes in as a first receiver as the game developed into general attack. To answer the first part of the second part of the question, I think also we must wait until tomorrow to see what our thinking is around that. But
Cool.
yeah,
Cool.
no, it's fine.
Happy? Okay. Thanks, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.